In today's Farm Report, Jim Salfer continues his discussion of farm business management data on dairy farms by the type of operation.
I'm going to continue my discussion today talking about kind of the dairy sort with farm management information from Minnesota. And there's about 390 farms in this database. So what we're really looking at, the breakout in front of me, is looking at robotic dairies and then non-robotic dairies, twice a day milking, robotic dairies, or non-robotic dairies, 3 times a day milking, and kind of organic dairies and how they play out. When you look at net return per cow, and of course this is before family living and management labor is included, the return was about $1,236 across all sizes of cows. Now, to put that in perspective, that's typically maybe 3 times as high as an average year might be when you look at maybe a 10-year average. And so, as I've talked about, and as you've heard in the news, dairy producers really had a pretty good year in 2014. Unfortunately, it's going to be quite a bit different in 2015. I think a lot of farms I've been on, they're thinking we hope we can break even in 2015. But that's kind of how agriculture is. We kind of run through these cycles, and so we have some really good years, and then we maybe have some average years, and then maybe we have some years where it's even below average. But when you look at that, what's really driven that, of course, is our milk price. Milk price last year was about $24.50 per hundredweight, and so that's how dairy farmers sell milk. To put that in perspective, a hundredweight is about 8 gallons of milk, so they get about $24 for 8 gallons of milk. What's really unusual when you look at those numbers is the average organic farm only made about $630 per cow. That's still a good number, and it's above what our non-organic herds are on an average, but it's really unusual to see a year where our conventional herds actually make more money per cow than our organic herds. Now, the organic dairies get a lot more milk or a lot higher price per hundredweight. They got $31, but because it's just a real challenge because of their pasture requirements to get as much milk per cow, their milk production per cow is down quite a bit more, and so their income per cow is quite a bit less than the non-organic herds. When you look at robotic and 2X versus 3X, not real surprising, the robotic dairies make more milk per cow than the 2X herds, but they make less milk per cow than the 3X herds. Again, that's pretty standard. From a profitability standpoint, there's not a lot of difference. They make a little more money than the 2X herds. They make less money per cow than the 3X herds. And their expenses break out differently. The robotic dairies spend, of course, quite a bit more on interest. They have a lower labor cost. So I think it's kind of interesting when you look at the herds and how they maybe vary from year to year. But overall, 2014 was a pretty good year for our average producer in Minnesota. This has been Jim Salfer with the University of Minnesota Extension in St. Cloud.
As the September 30th deadline approaches, industry representatives are unanimously calling for reauthorization of the mandatory price reporting program they say is critical to meat producers and packers. Last Wednesday, the House Subcommittee on Livestock and Foreign Agriculture discussed reauthorization of the Livestock Mandatory Price Reporting Act of 1999. Different organizations had different ideas for changes sought under the program, but all seem to be in agreement that the program should be deemed essential, preventing the loss of the data experienced in instances such as the government shutdown that happened back in October of 2013.